Once billed the sunshine sector and savior for the poor, India's microfinance industry found itself reeling under mountains of debt and a massive funding crunch after allegations of coercion and lending spurred indebtedness that led to a spate of suicides. The state of Andhra Pradesh reacted by enforcing a draconian ordinance that virtually brought all microfinance activity to a standstill. But the past 6 months have seen green shoots emerging yet again. Last week, the country's only listed microfinance firm, once the poster child of social capitalism, that's SKS Microfinance, posted a profit after 7 quarters of losses. Does all of this point towards a recovery, and what's the road ahead looking like for MFIs? That's our debate tonight on We Mean Business. And joining us on the show, Padmaja Reddy, the promoter of Spandana Spurti from Hyderabad. Robin Roy, Associate Director, Financial Services, PwC India, joins in from our Bangalore studios. Vishal Mehta, the co-founder and partner of Lok Capital, joins in from our New Delhi studios. Pawan Agarwal, Senior Director at Crystal Ratings, joins in on a link from Mumbai. And Mr. Radhakrishnan V.S., Managing Director and CEO of Janalakshmi Financial Services Private Limited, also joins in from Bangalore. And Mr. Radhakrishnan, do you think then that this is the right trend, given the large, unserviced areas? We keep talking about financial inclusion. We keep talking about how we need grassroots level institutions like microfinance companies. If there's consolidation in the industry, do you think that things would actually head towards the right direction, or probably, this consolidation happening a little too soon?
No, I think, I want to make 2-3 statements. One, I think you mentioned about 2 phases in the industry. Actually, there have been 3 phases. Before the crisis, the Wild West, when everything was liberal, if I can use that expression. Then the crisis, when people were hurt, and then post-crisis, where there is an improvement in the situation. I agree with Pawan and Vishal that consolidation could happen, but I think the more important opportunity is going to be that there will be partnerships between banks and microfinance institutions. I always believe that any crisis tends to make India a lot stronger. I mean, the Harshad Mehta scam was a case in point, where the National Stock Exchange was set up, and today it is easily one of the most successful stock exchanges in the world. So I feel, given that Reserve Bank is regulating, given that the Reserve Bank has recognized that MFIs have a role to play in financial inclusion, partnerships between banks of the kind that Padmaja and Vishal and Shamit talked about will happen. Consolidation is inevitable, as Vishal says, because of lack of capital. I think the challenge is going to be for the Reserve Bank to ensure that it doesn't become an oligopolistic situation. I think some of these smaller MFIs would need support, and I think the SIDBI will play a role in terms of supporting these smaller institutions. So I think it's got to be a combination of both.
Right.
But I think, as Mr. Roy mentioned, I think we as MFI institutions need to become a lot more responsible, a lot more customer focused, and realize that we are part of an ecosystem and have a role to play to ensure proper governance, proper technology, proper processes, and not forget the customer. I think that is fundamental. We cannot forget the customer.
Right. But Mr. Radhakrishnan, what are some of the other new opportunities that the sector could really look at? I mean, you had the government, for instance, this year starting this entire cash transfer scheme. Could areas like these actually be something that microfinance companies could take advantage of?
No, I think you're absolutely correct. I think the UID and the cash benefit transfer, the opportunity for remittances, the opportunity for corporates to leverage the distribution network the MFIs have, I think there are multiple opportunities that are going to be there. And whilst I agree with Vishal and that the number of players who have focused on this sector are limited, the reality is that 85% of India are earning less than 200,000 rupees, and a large portion of them don't have access to financial services. Penetration levels are extremely low in pure savings, even lower on borrowings, much lower on insurance, pension and other products. I think if you look at opportunity, I feel the next wave of opportunity is going to be microfinance. Yes, we all have to become much more better regulated, much better managed. We need to leverage off banks. I would equate the banks to the telecom towers, and we are the last mile connectivity of the mobile companies. I think if we can strike these kind of partnerships, work smartly, ensure we learn from the past, and put it forward. I actually believe there is a huge opportunity, and I think India needs it. Inclusive growth is going to be a fundamental requirement for India to achieve stable growth.
All right, just one more word to you, sir, before I actually get a wrapping up comment. This whole sort of fundraising business, give us a sense of how the cost of funds are playing out for microfinance companies, because, if your rates are capped at about 24%, if I'm not mistaken, and cost of funds are rising, then what does it really mean in terms of, profitability for for-profit microfinance companies such as yourselves?
Yeah, no, I think just to clarify, the interest rates today are at about 26%. Some people are slightly lower. The Reserve Bank has brought in a new rule suggesting that companies who have assets of over 100 crores should lend at 10% above the cost of funds. The industry has made a representation to give us time to come to those levels. So profitability would be squeezed, but I think if you're efficient, I think achieving a return on assets in excess of around, just on the pure lending business, of about 2.5–3%, earning an extra 1% approximately on third-party products like remittances, pensions, savings, insurance, etc. A 3.5% return on assets is not a bad business to be in, and with the growth rate opportunities that are there, I think it is still a very interesting business. At the moment, MFIs are being squeezed because of interest rates going up, but we think it will plateau off and the margins will come back.
Right. Last word to Vishal Mehta. How do you sort of see microfinance, the sector shaping up, say, by 2020? Just crystal ball gazing, where do you see the sector? Do you think we're going to go a long way, or do you think there's still going to be the sort of teething challenges that continue to plague the sector right now?
I think the fundamental demand is so strong, Nikhil, that one wants to be very optimistic and say that this has to grow. Where I am probably not as optimistic right now as a few of the other panelists. In the beginning, we spoke about the regulatory side and what the new regulatory regime has done. I guess and we're talking about a lot of product diversification, product innovation. If you look at the new regime, it really doesn't leave much room for product innovation. It has really it has made the funding more stable. The middle part of the operations part that MFIs have proven over the last 1 decade, and that's already in place. But if you look at the demand side, beyond microcredit, we haven't really done much right now. And a lot of those issues are largely because the structure in which the regulator wants the MFIs to operate does not make it very easy. And I'm not even talking about fancy products. We're talking within microcredit itself. Are there various segments? Are there various different sizes? Are there different models that you can try? And I think that flexibility has been taken away for a while. I hope it returns, and that's, I think, is going to be very key going forward.
Right, lots of challenges, lots of opportunities. Clearly, though, things seem to have seen a discernible improvement. There is no doubt, however, that MFIs still have a long way to go before they gain back their lost glory. We have to wrap up here and thank our guests.